Are you ready? Stand by.
Adam, welcome back to the Three Gun Show.
It's good to be here, Dave.
I'm glad to have you, man. We are going to do another Match Recon with special field correspondent Adam Maxwell.
Back in from out in the cold.
And, cold. Kind of alluded to the match we're going to talk about, Missouri Three Gun.
Yes.
Missouri Three Gun Championship. So, the state championship thing is becoming a thing, right? It's spreading now. It seems to be like more regional.
It's in this weird teenage phase.
Yeah.
Where it's definitely a thing, but it hasn't decided what it's going to be yet.
And that is a weird teenage thing. By the way, here in super liberal Minneapolis area, country radio station had a plug for gender conferment surgery. Mm-hmm. Not gender reassignment, gender conferment.
So just in case you couldn't reach between your legs and figure out which one you were, you could have an MD figure it out for you.
Have a surgery to figure it out for you.
Interesting.
To confirm your anyway. So that's beside the point. But so state matches are in like a little bit of a teenage stage here. And it'll be interesting to see where this goes over like the long run.
Yep.
And maybe there is like a national championship amongst the top 5 at each state match or something like that.
Yeah.
But we would all argue about where it's going to be and the rule set.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that probably is going to keep it from fruition. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as somebody tries to wrangle everyone together, there's like a big pushback. So, no, we're doing our own thing. Mm-hmm. We're outlaw. And
I always think that, I always wonder, and again, I wasn't there when any of the Three Gun Nation stuff happened back in the day when them trying to wrangle all the outlaw matches, but I always wonder if it depends on who the someone is, like, how Moses led his people through the desert for 40 years. That was a long time to follow him.
I don't know.
Do you think anyone could do that?
I think so.
I don't think I could lead anyone through the desert for 40 years. People would start losing trust after like the 13th year.
I don't know. I think there are people out there who could do it. I think if you're going to call somebody out, I think Ken Nelson could do it.
You think?
If he wanted to. I don't know if he wants to or not. But, I think Ken has his presence in the community and his presence in various communities is in a place that if he wanted to, I think he is politically positioned and savvy enough to do it if he wanted to. As an example, somebody that people across the country all know. Like, I could use a Midwestern example here, but nobody'd know what I was talking about. But
there's people. Oh, I guess Ken Nelson.
Ken Nelson's everywhere.
Because practice corps.
Yeah. So I think it could be done, but it would be very fragile, as is apparent from some other attempts to do it.
Yeah.
But
so there's another current attempt going on right now with Pete Rensing.
Yes,
right?
I've
United
heard.
Multi-Gun League.
Yeah, UML. Yep.
It's got the word United in it.
Right. And I don't know. I've heard a little bit about it. I've actually been meaning to reach out to Pete to get more information on it, because we have some theories of how we want to do a more regional series here for next year with some of our clubs, with my cohort Ruben Alexson, with Vortex down in Madison.
That's kind of like the Indiana Multi-Gun Series that they did, or even the Missouri. Missouri's got a 3-gun series.
Yes, they do.
The Logan Bills and Chad Francis do.
Yes, and I would have confidence in. I do have confidence in the Missouri one working out because it's not the Logan Bills' first rodeo with doing a series. Because before they did 3-gun, they were doing motocross. So the model isn't new. It's just a different sport. So I have, if they get the community around it, and they get enough participation in it, I think it could be a good thing. I don't know much about it specifically, other than Josh giving me the spark notes on it at SHOT Show, but I have absolute confidence in their ability to put together a series.
Sweet.
And like I say, we're working with some of our friends at different clubs around here in the area. We're trying to do potentially one of those for next year. It's all super preliminary at this point, and it could all.
I can't even talk about it. It's so preliminary.
Yeah, I can't because I haven't actually talked to all the people we want involved yet.
Nice.
Hey, Greg, answer the phone.
All right. Well, so speaking of the Logan Bills, so this match you shot was put on by the Logan Bills at their range.
Yes, at their new range.
Ooh.
This was the first time that I had been to the new lead farm. There was so much lead at the old lead farm, the EPA kicked them out, and they had to go to the new. No, that's not what happened at all. But they went to greener pastures for the lead farm.
Cool. So let's get into it then.
Let's get into it. This was the 2017 Tooth and Nail Missouri 3-Gun Championship. It was held March 18th and 19th in Versailles, Missouri, I believe is how you say it.
So they say it in France.
Yeah. Which is strange that they would call a Missouri town a French name. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it's usually the territory of Kentucky.
Yeah, well, like, how do you speak French with a southern accent? That's what I want to know. Like,
They don't, man.
It's weird.
Well, that's the joke I just made in Kentucky. They call it Versailles.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's time plus points. It's the rule set is Lead Farm's own proprietary blend of the quote-unquote traditional outlaw 3-gun rules. There were a couple special caveats in there. I can't remember what they were. They weren't overly consequential to how you would shoot the match. There's just a couple subtleties in there that everybody has how they want to do things.
Do you read rule sets cover to cover when you go to a match?
No, I usually skip over the safety part because it's the same thing cut and pasted, and it's rarely enforced the way it's written. So I don't read that cover to cover. I always look at the equipment because equipment rules always change, and that's where you're going to get caught up. Somebody's going to decide they want plugged shotguns or not plugged shotguns.
Yeah. Or you have to keep all your gear with you during the stage.
Yeah. Or,
can't drop anything.
Yeah, or things like that we'll look for. Calibers and things like that. Shot restrictions, shot size restrictions.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So I try to look through and like get the like, is it cool to coach here or not? Is it no. So I don't read them cover to cover. I do try to look at them. And also, the match director side of me, if you want to argue about the rules, you better have paid me the respect of reading them.
Yeah.
Because if I had a nickel for every time somebody wanted to do the dance with me on a rule that they hadn't read the rule book, and if you say, well, in USPSA, now I'm out for blood. All right? Right? Now I'm just out to throat stomp you. Because not only have you not read our rule book, you're implying that I need to follow the rule book that you want to. So screw you.
Love
you, USPSA guys.
That reminds me. So Texas 3-Gun Championship.
Yeah.
I said on the Match Recon that I couldn't open their rule book, and I tried multiple times.
Yeah.
And it turned out that I had like an old version of Acrobat or whatever, and it just wouldn't read it. It just sat there and loaded and loaded and loaded. Got this new computer.
That's rarely a problem with match websites, is that your shit is too old to read their shit. Usually it's like, no, Windows 95 kind of died a long time ago. Like, you guys need.
They got that little GIF of the waving flag in the bottom corner.
Yeah. Anyway.
Man, I stopped you on rule set. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so rules. Read the rules.
Okay.
For crying out loud. Everything's posted on Practice Score in a prompt and timely fashion.
You sign up on Practice Score as well?
Yes, you do. Schedule is an alternating on-off schedule, one on, one off. More or less ran on time the first half of the day. A couple squads got, the curse of on-off schedule is if a stage or a squad gets behind, that can hose up the whole thing. Match fees $250. 218 shooters materialized for this extravaganza. Yes, it's I think it's one of the few matches that actually sells out this season. There's so many matches now that used to be hard to get into some of these matches, and this is one that's still hard to get into. You got to be Johnny on the spot with the refresh button to get into this one.
Gen 3's like that.
Yeah, I got into it. The only reason I got into it is because one of my sponsors wanted me to go, and we were going to take a detour on the way home and hit up a trade show. So I got in on a sponsor slot.
I know which one that is.
But otherwise, I would not have made it in. Division winners were one Nathan Staskowitz in TAC Ops. Justin Morris edged out the win in TAC Iron. The man, the myth, the legend, Jerry Michalek won Open. And my good buddy, Saz41, Chris Sazin, edged out Jomar in the heavy division. So,
little rivalry there, a little coworker/buddy rivalry.
Yeah, they take heavy pretty serious between those two. Oh yeah, they if there's going to be a legitimate heavy division, those two guys are going to be in it, and they're going to be having a good time.
Huh.
And Jomar's out for the win. He's a competitive dude, but really what he's out for is the trophy that they created just for him at this match. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And Saz took it from him?
I don't know about that. He might have maintained that title. But the Logan Bills came to Trigun last year with a trophy from Missouri that they had made. And what did they call it? I think they called it the most breaking shittest shooter. I think Jomar broke something on every stage with his heavy gun. He broke some prop.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so there's the most breaking. I forget exactly what they call him, but they gave him a trophy because he broke the most stuff. Just shoot, not on purpose. Just
right.
Just shooting it, and it fell apart.
Bowl in the china cabinet.
Yeah,
award.
Yep. It's the uranium tipped 308 bullets that he uses.
Spent uranium.
Yeah. So,
all right, division winners. So
division winners.
Any other opportunities to shoot at that match?
We were there with Hyperfire doing some promo on the Hyper Comp.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the best way to feel a compensator is to give the selector switch the full 180 rotation and go full auto.
Right.
So the creators and innovators at Hyperfire sent us with cases of ammunition and some Select Fire M4s, and we got the comp real hot.
Nice.
Faux free. So that was a side match. Or it wasn't a side match, but it was a side shooting opportunity that was available there, and most people partook of it.
I saw a lot of video from that one.
Yeah, you could definitely hear it.
Awesome. All right, so what is the match flavor of Missouri 3-gun?
Match flavor of Missouri is it's precision. It's a precision match. This is kind of where the really small targets and the really tricky targets and the long range, positional shooting stuff I think that's a lot of the inspiration for the Tri-Gun here up in Minnesota came from. Every stage, the shots were either hard because, of the size of the target or the orientation or the position you had to be in, or you had to hit the right spot on the course to see it. One step this way or that way, you were going to miss the spot, or you could see a target from multiple positions. So in the walkthrough, you couldn't figure out have I shot that target already or whatnot. so it was either a difficult feat of marksmanship or it was a mental puzzle to figure out most of the stages. They were not burn 'em down hose fest stages by any stretch of the imagination. So I would say precision was the flavor of the match with all the guns, not just the rifle.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And what is the terrain like out there?
The terrain, this is turning into kind of a non-answer, but it's a mix of both. I mean, every match director wants to say they have natural terrain. Mm-hmm. They're a natural terrain match. I think if you ask the Logan Bills what's the flavor of their match, they're going to say it's a natural terrain match.
So I tell you what, this is number 2 of importance to the audience as well.
Yes, and everyone wants to know where the natural terrain matches are.
Right. So
like you show, this is why, people can kind of sense my my sarcasm when I say it, but like you go to a match that's a natural terrain match, or a match that claims to be a natural terrain match. Like, oh yeah, we're natural terrain. This is all right. Where's my first stage? Well, it's over in Bay 2.
Yeah. Well, and so I would say that at this time, and in my breadth of knowledge, Blue Ridge and Rocky Mountain 3-gun are the only natural terrain
and Vortex
matches.
Shooter Source.
Vortex Shooter Source.
Texas. Jeremy's match. He has bays and he doesn't use them on purpose.
So he doesn't use bays, but we did shoot from platforms. Does that count?
I would say that.
Okay. So Vortex Shooter Source, Rocky Mountain 3-gun, and Blue Ridge.
Yeah,
right?
I would say no bulldozers allowed.
Oh, okay.
To be a natural terrain match.
There you go. Okay.
Like if you had to use heavy machinery to construct the place where we shoot.
Right. And so, it can always be a mix of both, just like matches are. So the one that we just shot, the Tri-gun, definitely mix of both. There was places that we shot that did not have a bulldozer attached to it.
Yes. That is true.
Okay.
That is true.
So back to the new lead farm.
Yeah, so at the new lead farm, they do a mix of both. There was a few ravine runs. So like they did actually they had some pretty good like deep ravines that were good backstops. So you could do the jungle run stuff, and I think 4 of the stages were jungle runs.
Cool.
But you got to use all the guns. Normally on a jungle run you only get to use shotguns because we got to put a leash on where the projectiles go.
Right.
But they had 4 legit jungle runs, and then their bays. They have bays with berms on the side, but it's the only place I've seen. Well, similar to the Parma Range out in Idaho, but there's like no backstop. Like the bay goes into oblivion. So they
just use gravity for their
backstop? I just assume they're like, we know what's back there, the trees and the world is going to stop it. So they kind of have open-ended bays, so you have, it's 50 yards wide or whatever it is, but then the bay goes a long way potentially. Some of them are longer than others. Some of them have tree lines and stuff like that they don't have a whole lot of space. But you were in a bay, so you got the bay style stage with fault lines and
I gotcha.
and all that stuff. So they did have both.
I gotcha. All right, skills utilized.
Skills utilized was they're using your noodle. You gotta have a plan. I mean, you really gotta
jump on the stage and look for the targets.
No, you can't just roll in off the plane and shoot it live. You gotta be there the night before. You gotta look at them. You gotta make some notes. You gotta figure it out because targets are either available from multiple positions, or you need to have specific equipment. Like, man, I gotta make sure I have my double cinch 40 mag for this one, or you got to know some yardages so you can make some choke decisions, you can make some ballistic decisions, and there's a lot of places, there's a lot of tricky positional work, like I said, memorization type stuff. So your mental game is really what's going to be taxed at this one. Knowledge of your ballistics, because there's some longer range stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
They're well known for having a shot out to 650 yards,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a huge target.
Yeah,
it's a huge target on a strobe.
Strobe I like.
Yeah, I always seem to hit it in 1 or 2 or 3 shots, but you got to respect that shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no joke distance for a 223.
Right.
So you got and then the rest of it's not at incremental ranges. They're at organic ranges of unknown distance. You got to get there. You got to laze them. You got to figure out where they're at. And in this match on the long range stage, you could shoot them from one of 2 places. So you kind of had to decide which position you wanted to shoot which long range targets from too. And then they were completely different distances at those 2 positions, because those positions were about 20 yards apart. So they had some tough long range stuff, and then they also you got to have your jungle run feed about you too. So you got to remember a jungle run and where you're going to load, how you're going to not forget a target. And then they had a couple multiple bay ones too, where you had to have enough cardio to get into the next bay and still hit some targets before your time was going to stop.
Right.
So that was I would say is the skills of this one is the mental game more than anything.
Okay. Farthest shot and number of long range targets.
Farthest shot was in the neighborhood of 650 yards. Now this is 3-4 months ago already, so I've already forgotten exactly what distance it was at. But it was something like 650 yards. There were about 10 what I would call true long-range targets, and they were spread across 2, maybe 3 stages where you really had to have some dope and know your ballistics to hit them.
How's the wind in that area?
The wind's not bad because it's heavily wooded,
yeah.
So it's not – there's not going to be a whole lot of wind, but you did need to know your drops to hit those targets, or you were going to take some pretty hefty penalties. So yeah, there was about 10 long range targets.
Okay.
At that one.
All right, so on to logistics.
It's kind of they're kind of less is more at this match. Like everything ran the way it was supposed to, but there wasn't a whole lot of process around it. Like, I mean, check in, you go up to the little shack and say we're here, and they check your name off and they hand you your T-shirt. That was about all there was to it. Same thing with prize table walk. Like, it wasn't a big production.
Oh, okay.
They were just out on tables and, all right, you guys can look at them now, and everybody looked, and then that was that. There wasn't a whole lot to it.
Scores were
posted pretty promptly, except at the end. We did have a rain delay. Oh, not a rain delay, but we had an administrative delay on the prize table. I think they did have some sort of scoring snafu happen. I never really got the straight story on what it was, but we did get held up for about an hour, where it's like, all right, we've told all of our stories now. Like, what's the deal? Let's get this show on the road, because we got to get to somewhere else. It's like the sun's going down. Like, let's do this. Here's prizes we've looked at. And eventually they did it, but I think they had a scoring issue of some kind that they had to straighten out. So that was about the only hitch in their logistics was that one. But that seems to happen at every match. Like no matter what,
some reason.
It's one of those deals. Like, you should just tell people the prize table starts at 4:30 and then it'll run on time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they always try to do it like just right after shooting, and then if shooting runs a little longer, and then if there's a hitch.
Yes.
Or, I don't know. I guess I've never been on the back end of practice course, so I don't know how that goes. If there's like a 30-minute screw with the shooter's delay, or if there's a, compile now button or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's buffering or what the deal is.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
But no, it ran, like I said, we talked about this earlier, that Logan Bills have been running events, not shooting events, but they've been running events from motocross days for a long time. So the whole wrangling people, checking people in, compiling scores and putting out results is something they've been doing for a long time, and they're very good at it. So.
That's really cool. I like when there's like cross-pollination of different industries, and then we can take the best practices of, say, motocross.
Yeah, and a lot of us came over from motorsports. I was lucky to leave before I got broken, but there's a lot of people who break themselves in motorsports and they take up shooting sports because they're
like, oh, you still got to run.
Yeah. You know,
well,
but
and not just motorsports, other things too, like running or obstacle racing events. Those people are really good at handling a shitload of people. Like, the match staff at the stuff we go to, they freak out over 200 guys and like 20 gals, right?
Yeah.
But at like a Spartan race, there's several thousand people over the weekend. And somehow they, can wrangle all those people and deal with broken legs and this and that and trench foot and stuff.
Yeah.
So, granted, they have larger staff, but
but we're getting there. I think there are some outfits and organizations that are getting pretty good at handling this group of people, and not without growing pains. Well, and I would say the Logan Bills are one of them. Well, the Logan Bills, Three Gun Nation, we're getting pretty good at it up here in Minnesota. Jeremy Moore's getting pretty good at it down in Texas. So Pete Rensing is good at it.
Texas Three Gun Championship, those dudes are good at it down there.
Yep.
So, and if we omitted you, it doesn't mean that you're not good at it.
No,
we're just recalling here from memory. But the point is that Logan Bills being from a different industry, they bring new and interesting ideas in how to wrangle.
Yes.
So it's cool to see that unique perspective and then watch it permeate throughout.
Yes, very much so.
All right, man. So funny things that happen at the match.
All right, I do have one. And I'm going to change the names to protect the innocent.
I hate when you do that.
I think I'm going to have to. It's not too hard to figure out who it is, but I'm going to anyway. So,
Steve Markins.
At the end of the match. Right? And so there's limited parking up here at this match. So you can't just drive up to all the bays, or you can drive close-ish, but, once it's full, it's full.
Right.
So there's overflow parking, and overflow parking happened to be at the top of a hill. Like, you drive in, you drop down into this valley.
Oh, okay.
And then you kind of come up the other side, to get at the back stages. And so it's all over, and some friends of ours are humping their gear up the hill. Some guys who like to shoot heavy. And their equipment lives up to the name of the division. So my friend, who we'll call Fernandez, humps all his gear up to the top of the hill in this bag. He's got a Benelli M2, a JP LRP07, which if you've never handled a JP LRP07, picture a 1958 Cadillac that they condensed into rifle form and then cryogenically treated for superior ballistic performance, and you have a JP LRP07.
About as heavy.
It's dense. All right. So he hauls it all the way up. It's all the way up there. Puts it down. It's like, oh, man. Oh, I made it. And one of our other friends, we'll call him Derek, comes up, and he's like, man, you know what? I'm going to work smarter, not harder. I'm going to drive my truck over to the guns instead of bringing my guns over to the truck. So he hops in, and no matter how dense an LRP07 is,
oh, God,
it was no match for 6,000 pounds of Ram 1500. He executes the perfect 90-degree backup right over Fernandez's range bag, lengthwise.
With all the guns in there? Oh, my God.
With all the guns in there. And then then you heard the needle come off the record, like, oh, what happened? And they still had one stage to shoot yet.
That's even worse.
So thankfully he was done. It was the shotgun only stage, but he shot the shotgun only. He either got a spare forend or he shot it with a broken forend.
Oh my God!
On his shotgun, but Derek felt so bad. He was so embarrassed, and he's still getting shit for it to this very day.
He absolutely should. This should be a lifetime of
see.
Shit
So
for that.
your truck gets dusty from time to time, right?
Yeah.
And we we locally live very close to the creators and innovators at JP. They will go up to his truck and they write "murderer" on the dust. It's all the time. It's funny.
That's amazing.
Or when somebody wants a new rifle, they stack it behind Derek's pickup. So yes. Now, it just so happens that some JP reps were there. We live very close to them here, so the rifle was rushed away to the trauma center,
Revived
in Hugo, Minnesota, and was subjected to a thorough inspection. And turned out the only part of it that needed to be replaced was the upper receiver.
Crazy.
The rest of it they salvaged, but for a moment in time there were real tears of sorrow.
From which one?
From both, I think.
Yeah.
Because one was like, oh my God.
It's a $6,000 mistake.
I have to buy Fernandez a whole new set of heavy equipment.
Yeah.
And Fernandez has been like, oh my gosh, I've been everywhere. He was sentimentally attached to this rifle. I mean, he's won titles with this thing, and
Well, and a rifle's one of those things, like when you get it squared away, like you want to be attached to that thing for a long time.
And I don't care who you are. It takes a paycheck to buy one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a cheap rifle.
No.
So that was the funny story that's going to live on for at least 12 months.
Dude, that's going to be a lifetime.
Is when Derek drove over somebody's range bag.
So check your tires, everybody.
Make sure you have the proper inflation.
Also, do not place your range bag anywhere near an overly excitable puppy that wants to drive down to get his range bag. All right, man. So venue. Let's talk about the venue. Ease of access, etc. Creative use.
The venue is in the middle of nowhere. It is
nowhere. Missouri is kind of twisty and turny to get to.
Right. So Missouri is hard. Yeah. I don't know if there's a somewhere in Missouri. I mean, the whole place is kind of the boondocks, but this is the middle of the boondocks.
I guess Kansas City, but that's like right on the border.
Right. So I mean, that's kind of Kansas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like
St. Louis.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, it's hard to get to. It's not close to anything. You either got to drive a long way to get to lodging and food and stuff like that, or settle with what's around there, which is not a whole lot. However, the range itself is very nice. There's not like a big elaborate clubhouse or anything like that. But from a shooting standpoint, from a canvas for which to paint a match on, it is a very nice facility. They do have some pretty good topography changes. They have some good distances that they can work with. They have, some wooded areas. They can do the jungle run type stuff. So they do have a lot of potential with their new facility and things that they can do. But the facility itself is fairly tough to access. And if the driveway is not adequately marked, you will drive a long ways on the not paved road before you're like, we definitely missed it.
Can you find it in Google pretty easy?
No.
No? No. Dang it.
So yeah, that's the facility. It's
and it sounds like they creatively used a lot of the facility for the stages.
Yep. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like when I came from the agriculture industry, and we were driving around with one of my bosses one time, and he was talking to somebody important, and the call got dropped. And as he's redialing, he's like, "That's how you know it's a good place to have cattle. No cell phone reception." Same thing with match, shooting ranges.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you know it's a good place for a range, because there's nobody around.
Yep.
So it's kind of the same thing.
I always figured like it's if you're like a woman who's not interested in 3-gun and your husband wants to go shoot 3-gun matches,
don't come to this one.
Well, there's worse things he could do than shoot 3-gun, because they're all out in the middle of the nowhere, so there's no opportunity for accidental cheating or anything like that. Just don't let him go on business trips.
There you go.
Only 3-gun matches.
Yeah, definitely shoot more 3-gun. I'm gonna advocate for that, no matter what the motivation is.
It'll keep your relationship together.
Yeah, that's what it'll do.
All right, so pre-communication.
Pre-communication was pretty on point. I mean, it's not anybody's favorite thing to do, and it's hard to do to get people to pay attention to you. But they did relay all the pertinent information in a concise fashion, and it had everything. There weren't any real questions about, there were no gaps in their pre-match communication. That you had the information you needed when you needed it in time to make the appropriate decisions and preparations. So.
Okay, good. And staff.
I'm not looking forward to this question. I typically do not like Missouri matches, and I couldn't figure out why. And I was thinking about it a long time because we were driving around a lot on this trip talking about it, and I think it's because of the staff. And it's not a criticism of Josh or Matt, and I'm a match director myself. I know how hard it is to wrangle this number of people who are willing to volunteer and do this for a whole weekend for little or no compensation.
And have adequate skill set.
And objectivity and things like that. But I don't feel that the staff at this match is terribly consistent. Stage to, they're pretty gung-ho in the beginning. As the day goes on, I think the number of shits they give just kind of tends to decrease.
So they get relaxed on, you can stand there. Yeah, you can shoot that from there.
Or, if, a guy like me, I've developed what I think is a strategy to protect myself from ROs. So I'm going to ask you very specific pointed questions. Even, I'm probably not a Ninth Circuit Court, range lawyer, but, at the county level, I can litigate, all right? So I'm going to ask you a question that I know the answer to, but I'm going to make you say it so that when later you try to call me, I'm going to be like, no, I asked you this question, and you said I could do this. Well,
give us an example.
Well, we got to one stage, and there's a very tight no-shoot on a shot that you could potentially shoot with a shotgun. Okay? Are you calling pellets as no-shoots? Yes. Okay, is it one hit or is it one for each pellet? That answer changed depending on which squad you were on. Best I can remember. I know there are some squads they got one no shoot, and some of them they went and counted pellets.
Huh.
When I was there and I asked, I got one answer. I remember there are other squads that were scored differently. I believe this was 3 months ago.
Right.
But it's things like that, or if you ask if you can shoot from this position or that position, and then so you may or may not get an answer. Or if you just did it, if you just didn't ask anything, but you just went and did it, were you going to get the call, or they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess so. And that kind of consistency probably was most prevalent in, I believe it was stage 5 getting thrown out. For those of you keeping score at home, that's the one with the red Jeep. When the match started, the intent of that stage was to force you to get in the Jeep and shoot through it, over it, on it, something like that. Somewhere along the line, somebody got, and then there was some lateral movement you had to do. There were some ports, like some very shielded ports that you had to shoot through to get the targets.
Oh, I see where this is going.
So you had about 5 places you were intended to be to shoot targets. Somebody figured it out, and I don't know how it is, who it is, how it came about. Somebody figured out that you could jump on top of the Jeep and shoot everything. Like,
was the Jeep a place? Was the top of the Jeep a place that you were supposed to be able to shoot?
It was not intended.
Okay.
But there were either gaps in the briefing or gaps in the stage description that they let it roll. And that's what got a bunch of attention. And then, so now the stage is under the microscope. And one of the other things that I think ultimately contributed to it getting thrown out there's a back window in the Jeep. So behind the passenger door, which is where the shooting was intended to happen, there was a window. I believe it was an intact window on walkthrough day. It might have had a hole in it. But on the first day of shooting, that hole became a bigger hole, became a window that got knocked out, became a port that people were staging their gun through. So
instead of getting into the Jeep and getting it from the back cargo area.
That was one of the many creative ways you could use this Jeep. Was so a squad early on, there was a window there. They couldn't use that. But 3/4 of the way through on Saturday, not only could you physically reach through this window, but they were allowing you to retrieve your guns or abandon your guns that way. So it became terribly inconsistent, and they ultimately ended up throwing out the stage. And it was a fun stage, so it was really sad that it got thrown out. And Josh actually shot it in a similar time to what people were getting shooting on top of the Jeep. So it could be argued that it wasn't even necessarily that big of an advantage.
But Josh is also an open shooter.
Yeah, but open shooter to open shooter.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was Mark Roth's time to Josh's time. They were pretty similar.
I gotcha.
So it was like, you could kind of have the chicken and the egg conversation, and like, well, is it really faster? But me getting ready, looking at that stage got thrown out before I had to shoot it. We were up to shoot next when they threw it out. Me looking at that stage, seeing people jump on the roof, I'm like, well, crap, that's what you got to do. Like whether you want
to get from one position, you can eliminate all the ports. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was like, and they were saying, well, it's very bladed. Some of the targets are very bladed, blah blah blah. And it's like, man, I don't, just safety. I'm here to party, so I'll get up on there. But like, if you get a big dude up there, like not to pick on Jacob, but if Jacob Betzworth gets up on there, or if you get too many dudes that are that size up there, you're gonna structurally compromise this Jeep. So it's like, well, is that really safe? Well, if it's not safe, but you've let people do it, but now you're not going to let people do it. So some of what ultimately started the catalyst that started that progression was inconsistency from the staff. So, and that's not leveled at those individuals specifically. I kind of see it as a theme throughout the match. Of like, I just don't feel like, I think it kind of depends when you get to a stage, how that stage is going to be called. Yeah. Because that stage ended up getting thrown out, we ended up getting way behind and shooting another stage, the really hard option stage, pretty much in the dark.
How would you get far behind if one of them got thrown out?
Well, the squads stacked, like, that stage was running behind.
Oh, I gotcha.
And then, so we were waiting, and then the squad that was ahead of us jumped in, and I think, I can't remember, I think they were trying to shoot us through an extra stage for the day to get ahead for tomorrow or something like that. But we ended up shooting an option stage really late in the dark. I don't think we were given the option. We were told we were going to do it. But we're shooting a very hard stage in the dark, and I think the original ROs for that stage had been exchanged. So the ROs that were running us were not the ones that ran the rest of them, and they were calling it different. I'm not saying that I'm unhappy because I got a bad score.
Right.
This isn't like me, this isn't my vendetta for something that happened to me. This is just my best attempt at an objective observation of the match. I don't think it was terribly consistent. So you can send hate mail to adam@hawkeyesyndicate.com. I look forward to your comments.
All right. So now let's talk about the fun factor.
The fun factor. Trying to remember.
The Adam factor. We got to come up with a better name for that.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
I keep wanting to say Max Factor because it's like a makeup brand or something, and you're not picking up on the joke. So.
Yeah.
Or
it's not
funny.
Maybe. I'm also stalling. You jump out of order sometimes.
Yeah, I screwed up. I went back to the template instead of the most recent one.
Oh, this is where I want to talk about the other thing that's not my favorite. this is one of those stages or one of those matches that is very representative of a theme that we've been seeing lately throughout some matches. And it kind of started from some of these matches where we had a shotgun-only stage.
Yes.
You know, due to facility or local flavor or whatever, they do an all-shotgun jungle run.
I would also say, and this is, again, a theory because I wasn't there, I would also say that shooting and loading the shotgun used to be really tough. So now when you put in like a 30-round shotgun stage, that's very difficult for a lot of people because they have to weekend load, shuffle underneath type thing, 30 shotgun shells. And nowadays, here in the future, with technology, we've kind of solved that problem.
Yes.
To where it's not really that big of a deal anymore.
Yes. But out of that has come competitors who maybe weren't very good at shotguns. Or same thing could be said of very rifle-heavy stages where there's like a rifle-only long-range stage where you have to crush the long range or that's going to decide the match. Or the rifle stage decide the match. So there is this movement among people or shooters that say if you're going to have a one-gun stage, you have to have a one-gun stage for each of the 3 guns. So at this match, there is an all-pistol stage, an all-shotgun stage, and an all-rifle stage. And that has spread. I don't know if it started here or if it, this is just one of the first places that I saw it, but
Rocky Mountain's like that.
It's a theme, yeah. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm of the opinion that I signed up for 3-gun. Like, I want to shoot all 3 guns. If I wanted to shoot an all-pistol stage, there's this thing called USPSA.
Right.
And I would do that. So I like stages where you get to use at least 2, if not 3 of the guns. And if you do an all-rifle, all-pistol, and all-shotgun stage at a 8 or 9 or 10 stage match, that's almost half the match.
Right.
With one-gun stages. And sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they are really good single-gun stages, depending on what your preference of the guns is. They could be really fun. But sometimes they're just kind of filler. And in the past lead farm events, I was like, yeah, this is kind of I'm just not into this stage, But these ones were okay, but I would rather shoot 9 3-gun stages or 9 at least 2-gun stages,
right,
than to have this firm. Well, we got to have a single gun stage for each event, or for each gun. I'm not a fan. I know some people like it, but I don't. So that kind of siphoned off some of the fun factor for me is having the single gun stages.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So, what do you see as wrong with allowing a strong pistol shooter to shine in an all pistol stage or an all rifle shooter to shine in an all rifle stage if if a good shotgun shooter can shine in an all shotgun stage?
Well, I don't disagree with the logic. Like, as soon as it was pointed out to me by one of my friends who doesn't like the all shot, I like the shotgun stages, so I was like, oh man, it's just a fun stage, and it's kind of something we did because this is what we have facility to do. But as soon as he made that point, that was kind of an aha moment for me too. Like, oh, yeah, you're right. If this is a competition and the point of the competition is to compete, then yeah, you are really handicapping somebody.
Yes.
So I do agree. If you're going to do a 1-gun stage, you should do 1-gun stages for everyone. That I agree with, but I would say, given the choice of do we give that level playing, do we allow the 1-gun stages or do we do all 3-gun stages? I would fall on the side of, well, let's do multi-gun stages. So if I'm going to decide, like the purpose of some of these Match Recon videos, or not videos, but podcasts, is there's a camera here somewhere.
What?
Yeah. If we're deciding which matches we want to go to with a finite amount of resources, my taste and preferences, I'm going to choose to go to matches that I know are all 3-gun or multi-gun stages instead of matches where I know the format is going to have one of these single gun stages for each of the guns.
Right.
Stylistically, from matches that I like to matches that I would, put further down on my priority list, I would prioritize the ones where I know that they have multi-guns on every stage. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Trying to think if I've shot one this year that was all multi-gun. I think everything I've shot so far has had an all rifle, an all shotgun, or an all pistol. No, I guess that 3 Gun Nation Southwestern Regional that we shot.
Yeah, they had an
all shotgun.
They had an all shotgun stage, and that's where I first heard that criticism. I'm not sure if that individual probably doesn't care if I say his name, but I'm not going to call him out. But that's, he had a good point. I was like, well, it's an all shotgun. Why do you hate fun, so and so? Well, it's not that I hate fun. It's a competition, and this is going to severely stack the odds in favor of someone who shoots a shotgun really well.
Right.
I'm like,
well, and that was the intent back in the day, right? If my assumption is correct, and these all shotgun stages started when people sucked at weekend loading, it was Daniel, Taryn, or Keith that would win each time because they could load super, super fast.
I don't know that to be true. I know.
Those are a lot of assumptions right there.
Yeah, I know. Back at least up here in Minnesota, the reason the shotgun stages happened is because we didn't have facility to do 3-gun stage, so it was filler. It was filler for the match. Like, we can do an all shotgun stage over here because we have space to safely do a shotgun only stage over here, and we can't shoot pistols.
Right.
All the bays are getting used for all the other guns, but we need one more to fill out the match or to flow the squads and whatnot. So, and they just happen to be crowd favorites, and so they got more elaborate.
Yeah. So what do you think of, like, here's a 54-round shotgun stage?
That's a bit much. That is pandering to sponsors who make shotgun caddies. And they've even caught on now. I'm in the marketing side too. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this 50-round shotgun stage. If you need more caddies, so and so sponsors the match.
Yep. I feel the same way. I feel like it's way too much. Like, you can accomplish just as much in 30 rounds as you can in 50 rounds.
Yeah.
As a stage design, I've never felt that every single array on a 50-something round shotgun stage was super duper.
It's massive for the purpose of being massive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's America. It's excess, right?
So I would agree with that. I like the long shotgun stages.
And I do too. But shotgun's my faves.
Yeah. I mean, I often say, on the retail side, people get into 3-gun because they want to shoot rifles.
Right.
They're in the pistol sports. They want to shoot the rifles, but they stay because of the shotgun. I think a lot of us stay because we like shooting the shotguns.
Huh.
Because everything you shoot with a shotgun either makes noise, falls over, or explodes.
It's true. Yeah, that's great. And I absolutely did get into this right after I built my first AR-15. So that's
the only reason I bought an AR-15 was to shoot 3-gun.
Huh.
I would have never bought one. If I would have never gotten into 3-gun, I would have never bought an AR-15. Well, at least at the time, a lot politically has happened since then. But now I own more AR-15s than anything else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, funny story to tell you after we hit stop here.
On the after show?
Yeah, on the after show. All right, man. Anything you
on the last cast?
Anything you want to add to your Match Recon here?
No, it's a solid match. It's very popular with people in my area. It's one of the closer major matches for people logistically.
What's the drive to Missouri from here?
It's like 8 hours.
Oh, that's not bad.
Something like that. The next closest one is Park City, Kentucky. Otherwise, most of them involve 15 to 18 hours of driving at best
to
get to. So there are a lot of people from this area who go down there. It's very popular. And because so many people from our area go down there, it's a bit of a regional, I don't know if rivalry is the right term, but there's definitely a contingent that goes.
The Logan Bills were here at the Trigun, or at least one half of the Logan Bills.
Josh usually comes too. He must have had something else going on.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
But
all right, well, Adam, field correspondent Adam Maxwell, thank you again for another great Match Recon.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. And like I said, I look forward to seeing some of the comments.
Yeah,
and like I say, it's not intended to be critical or a match review. We're just trying to kind of objectively give some information to people who have never been here before, kind of what to expect, or try to compare to other matches across the country. So I certainly hope the individuals involved don't take our opinions personally.
Sure. And I would say definitely don't email Adam. Go ahead and post it somewhere, Facebook, Instagram,
somewhere public.
Yeah, exactly. Or in the comments on the blog, threegunshow.com, and let's have a discussion about it. Because when you email someone, it's one-to-one, and when you comment on something, you can now create a public discussion.
That is an excellent point.
Yeah. So let's do that. If you've got comments on this or any of the other Match Recons, feel free to do that.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.